Hey, hear real weird and scary stories. But don't worry, everything will be fine.
Hitchhiking with the devil. It was cold, dark, and desolate on this road as I traversed. I felt near the brink of collapse. Plus, I felt like someone was following me. But I was determined to keep going. A situation like this would probably kill someone else's spirit, but not mine. I suppose I got that from myself, because I certainly did not get it from either of my parents. My dad walked out on me when I was 2 years old, and my mom had been a drug addict ever since. I had to learn to hold my own from an incredibly young age, so why would this be any different? I heard a rustle in the leaves a few meters behind me. I sped up my pace. I was walking on a road with barely any cars passing by. If I were going to get mugged, kidnapped, or murdered, no one would see it, and this would be the end of my story. Damn it, what was I going to do? The road ahead of me resembled a snake, winding and twisting. No end in sight. I was so nervous. Who was behind me? Was I being paranoid? When I started feeling this anxious, I usually started chewing the inside of my lip. I felt a trickle of blood run down my chin. The whole reason I was on this darn road was to get away from that toxic environment. It was weighing me down. I had dreams bigger than where I was from. I made drawings, and ever since I was little it was how I escaped from my harsh reality. I was a loner, no friends, no girlfriend. If I died out here, no one would remember me. The crazy thing is I was fine with being alone. All I knew is I needed to get to Los Angeles. That's why I was walking down this empty, forgotten road. The sounds I thought I were imagining kept getting closer. Okay, now I knew my mind wasn't playing tricks on me. I kept my eyes forward and kept trekking on. I was breathing hard, partially from tiredness and the other from nervousness. I didn't know where the next gas station or rest stop or anything would be. They made this road for driving, not walking, so everything would be spaced apart accordingly. I saw a light coming from behind me. This could be my salvation. I stuck my thumb out. I trusted no one, but it was better than dying alone on a road where I wouldn't be found for days. The car slowed and stopped right next to me. I looked inside and saw a shaggy and unkempt man. He had a beard with particles of food stuck in it. "Hey partner, you need some help there?" He leaned forward, staring at me with his one good eye. I'd rather die than get in a car with this idiot. I changed my mind. Whatever was following me could get me. "Nah man, I'm good." The unkempt man looked at me up and down. "You sure, pal? Look at what you're wearing. You seem like a lost cause out here. We're the same, me and you. Gotta stick together. Them rich folks don't give a damn about folks like us." I glanced at my clothes. I came from a trailer park, and I couldn't afford great clothes growing up. I cared little about being fashionable at this point. I presume he deduced that from my appearance. "Look man, beat it. Before I report you to the authorities or something." I was bluffing. My phone died an hour ago, but I held a stone-cold gaze with him. I had scuffles with far worse than him back at my trailer park. He scoffed and zoomed off, leaving me behind to face whatever fate awaited me. The bushes kept rustling, this time closer than before. I sped up, huffing and puffing as I shuffled along the road. I kept this going for about 15 minutes before I heard another car pulling up behind me. It slowed by the sounds of it. I swallowed. It felt like there was a lump in my throat now. What if that was the backup for whoever was following me? I decided I would face whatever was behind me in that car. I turned around and saw a black Cadillac CT6. The windows were tinted all black so I couldn't see inside. I walked up. The windows slowly rolled down. Behind them remained a gentleman with an all-white suit with a red dress shirt underneath and a black tie. He had black buttons across the cuffs and a black Rolex. He wore Cartier shades. I only knew that because the name was on the side of the frames. "Hello, young man. What is a fellow like you doing out here?" Surely, "I can be of some assistance, just point me in the direction you're headed," he smiled. This guy looked like the exact person I envisioned my dad to be like. Too bad I had no frame of reference, he was a deadbeat. But as a kid I would dream of my dad being a suave guy driving around in expensive cars, wearing nice business suits, and taking me on joyrides with him. I considered this for a second. This guy had an extraordinarily nice car, and his suit was clean pressed. He was the total opposite of the previous guy. I was in no position to refuse. I would die out here if I didn't find a way out of this situation, plus there seemed to be some stranger or strangers following me. "Sure man, look, I'm just trying to get to the closest rest stop or gas station. You don't have to go out of your way, just take me to one of them." He stared at me with his eyes gleaming behind his glasses. "Hop in son, no need to stay out here in the cold." I hopped in, and with that he drove off at what seemed like lightning speed. "Tell me about yourself, any dreams or aspirations?" "We all have something that drives us," he queried. Well, I'm an artist. That's what I love to do." I replied matter-of-factly. I was wondering in my head why he was asking this. Still, it did feel nice to have someone be interested in my passion. My father was never around to even care about what I amounted to. I bet he didn't even care if I lived or died. "Fascinating, you know, I was once like you. I wanted very much to be something of an artist myself. I wanted to create, however my father did not like that one bit." I stared ahead at the looming road. I then asked, "Why is that?" He took a minute as if reflecting on a painful memory. "I suspect it's because I just was not good enough," he said with ferocity. I flinched. Now his demeanor was that of a totally different person. "Hey man, take it easy, I was just asking," I stammered. He chuckled. "Just screwing with you man, you don't have a sense of humor much, do you? I take it you're the lone wolf type. Never had many friends, prefers to be to himself. I'm the same way. That's exactly why I made something of myself." He beamed. "How else do you think I got this car?" he asked me with an inquisitive look. "I guess you worked hard." I responded back. I didn't know what to think about this guy at this point. I just wanted to reach a rest stop. Correctamundo, I did it on my own. If I can, anyone can. He continued. "Look, I see potential in you, I see myself. The hunger for more." He was starting to pick up with his tone and sound, almost like a salesman. The funny thing is, I was starting to buy into his words. "Go on." I spoke. "You said you're an artist, right?" he said while keeping his eyes on the road. "Mind if I see a drawing or two?" I was curious where he was going with this. "Sure, I always keep my pad with me in my bag." I pulled it out and flipped through it to find a drawing of a garden. It was what I imagined my mom planting if she hadn't gone crazy and gotten hooked on drugs. She loved gardens, but now that was a pipe dream. "Here, check this out, it's one of my favorite pieces," I said as I shoved the pad in this direction. He glanced at it while keeping one hand on the steering wheel and took the pad with his other hand. "Nice, that's talent. So what were you doing out here all alone?" "I don't mean to pry, I'm simply curious, by nature. I'm heading to Los Angeles. I didn't exactly have a plan of how to get there though. I'll admit that was a stupid move on my part. I thought back to the events that lead me to walking down this roadway, how enraged I was at home and how I couldn't stand being there a minute longer." I see, he said with a concerned tone. He narrowed his gaze on the road. "I understand the path less traveled. It is a dark and weary path. Not many are ready for its perils," he went on. I thought about how lonely I truly was, how my dad had left me, and my mom wasn't there for me. Maybe this guy wasn't half bad. "I can make you a sweet, sweet deal. Look, my name is Lucifer." My jaw dropped. This guy must be insane. I went from near admiration to bafflement. "Dude, what? Your parents named you Lucifer? Man, they must be some real nut jobs." "No offense," I responded. I wasn't one to hold back my opinion, even with a stranger. He chuckled and smiled, none taken. Though, the big man might take offense to that. Me, I'm more laid back. I can offer you a ride to Los Angeles, instead of this meaningless drop-off at a rest stop that will get you nowhere, but it comes at a price, he offered. I don't have any money, man, do you see what I'm wearing? I retorted. What I need is more than mere mortal money. I need a piece of your soul. I can feel the essence of your love for art. You see, son, I take what people love the most from them in exchange for my services. That being, me saving your life. I understand you want to make it in Hollywood, don't worry, you won't. He chuckled. I'll bestow you with riches and make sure you're well off, but that talent of yours, you see, I simply must have it. He breathed in the frigid air deeply through his nose while saying this as if savoring the very thought of this idea. When I was younger, not much older than you are now, I tried to impress my father, creator, whatever you humans call him these days. He goes by many names. I wanted simply to be like him. I had an affinity for creation, just like him, and I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to create beings like him. He said no, I could only be by his side, and that was reserved for him. So now, ha ha ha, I travel around searching for people like you, people who have these petty minuscule dreams, so I can take them, like mine were taken. He launched into a classic villain laugh before stopping himself. Excuse me, sorry, I got carried away. So, son, what do you say, death or my deal? I gulped. I was screwed. I was trapped in this car with either a maniac or the actual devil. Neither was desirable. I decided it was better to oblige him than to say no and play around. If he felt I was going along with his delusions, maybe he would let me out of the car when we got to Los Angeles, and I would win either way. If he was the actual devil, which was nigh impossible, then death was far worse than losing my talent. I could find some other way to make it. I knew this wasn't ideal, but I didn't want to die at 21 years old. I sighed. Okay, I agree. I'll take your deal. He materialized a paper out of thin air and a pen. I was shocked. This guy might be the real deal. I scribbled my name. Suddenly the sky started fading from blue to red, the road started to bend downwards and pieces of it fell off into a void that appeared before us. The car started to fall into the void swallowed the car, and the world we knew disappeared. I looked outside in fear. Everything I knew was gone and I was engulfed in darkness. Flames shot up around us and licked the edges of the window. You would think the car would feel like an oven, but it felt as chilly as before. We landed on a fire and brimstone path and zoomed past creatures of all shapes and sizes. One looked like an ogre, one looked like a giant with 3 arms, the third coming from its back. Another was a creature of mangled flesh that looked like a spider with human arms for legs and arms in all directions. I gagged. Welcome to my sanctuary, he yelled out the window as we pulled up to a 30-foot throne. He stepped out of the car and his leg grew to a massive size and the rest of his body started to increase to accommodate for the size change of his leg. Suddenly, he was a colossal figure bigger than any of the giants. His skin tone changed to a reddish tone. He sat on the throne. He stared down at me with eyes that resembled blazing fire. I yelled out, "This is not Los Angeles, you lied. You did not keep up your end of the deal." The creatures surrounding us stopped what they were doing to stare. They seemed perplexed and even shocked that I would challenge him. He brought his face closer to mine and said, "The city of angels, why would I bring you there? You never read the paper you signed. It stated, once you trade your soul you will remain in the 5th circle of hell for your anger for 1,000 years. The devil is in the details. You see, dear old Zach, the anger you hold in your heart, whatever it is or whoever it's for, makes us the same. After 1,000 years, then you can go to your precious city. I just hope it's the same after all that time. Aha, ha ha." He stared at his fingernails and ordered some demons around. He was now ignoring me. I looked around and saw a river of blood in the distance with wailing souls. They were clashing weapons, sticking it through each other over and over. They couldn't die, so they were in eternal agony, from what I could see. I could see some demons shuffling over to me with some weapons. There was no way I was going to have a spear stuck through me for 1,000 years. I had to think fast. I had to outsmart the devil himself. I stammered as I produced an idea. I wasn't sure it would work, but I had to try. Mr. Lucifer, check me out real quick, man. If you're the world-renowned trickster, surely you're up for a proposal before I head off for my 1,000-year sentence, right? He raised an eyebrow. What is it? Don't think you'll get out of this. I searched my brain to come up with a convincing way to stop myself from being hauled off. I'm just saying, you wanted to be like your father. He'd give me a chance, he would hear me out. I guess he really is better than you. He started steaming out the years. I am not my father, nor is he ever to be compared with me. I had to tone it down just a bit. I knew I could get to him if I tried just a little more. I'm not saying he's better than you, but if you let him one-up you in scenarios like this, then. I trailed off to let him wonder. He sat and pondered this for a second. Fine. What is your proposal? He muttered. I knew the best way to get out of this was a riddle. If he couldn't solve it, then he had no choice but to give me my freedom. I peered up at him. I need a handshake. In history, this is used to seal a verbal agreement. My proposal is, if you can solve my riddle, I'll stay here for eternity. If you cannot, my sentence is removed and I'm automatically sent to the safest place in Los Angeles. No loopholes, no tricks, on both ends. He grinned a sinister smile and stepped down, shrinking down to my size. He shook my hand. You have yourself a deal, son. No one has ever managed to outsmart me. He ushered a demon over who would be the moderator. You will tell your answer to your riddle to him, he sneered. I was playing with fire here. In the entire history of the universe, no one had ever outsmarted him. All right, so this is my riddle. I closed my eyes, searched my soul, and thought of something that he wouldn't guess. It took what felt like an eternity, but after a while I felt like I had the perfect riddle. I whispered my answer to the demon. I took a deep breath and went. Do not worry, I am the key. You seek love, then choose me. Even while caged in, I make you free. Don't need a soul to click with me. But even so, I'll help you there. So first and foremost, make sure you're aware. What am I? He gazed into the depths of my eyes for what seemed like an eternity. Then he said the word, power. He seemed very confident in his assertion. Cackling, he went, look at you, even now you crave it. If you had it, you'd be able to escape this confinement. I shook my head, looked down, then looked back up with a smile. That's where you're wrong. Everyone that has visited here or been condemned to eternity here is just like you. No wonder no one has been able to trick you. I, however, am nothing like them. For a while I couldn't overcome this feeling. I wasn't able to let go of the past. The thing that haunts me. That's something you could never do. You despise your father. I do too. The difference is, I now choose to forgive him. So no, the answer isn't power. It's forgiveness. His jaw fell open. He could not believe it, from the looks of it. Now get me the hell out of here, I hollered. With a snap of his finger, I was in the middle of Los Angeles. I looked behind me to see the Hollywood sign. I gasped. Tears filling my eyes. I had finally made it.